views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individuals participating in the show. All persons described or mentioned in the podcast should be considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This podcast contains subject matter such as violence and graphic descriptions along with adult language, which may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
On January 26, 1966, three siblings go swimming at Glenelg Beach, Australia. They disappear and are never seen again. What ends up being the most famous case in the history of Australia, and it is still unsolved to this day. What happened to these three siblings? You're listening to the Mysterious Brews podcast, and tonight we bring you the case of the Beaumont children.
Welcome to a deep, dark, dank, moist basement somewhere in the bowels of Facebook jail, Georgia.
It's not jail when you get hacked, dude. I told you. Listen, I know you're old, but that password 123 is not the best password. I told you that a long time ago.
My new one looks like a cat walked across the numbers and the symbols.
And when you get on those websites that are kind of, shady, unscrupulous.
Have you been talking to Heater?
Show that naughty stuff.
You've been talking to, that's the first thing he said when I tried to tell him. I was like, hey man, I got hacked. Do not accept anything. He was like, I told you those websites would get you.
There's when you're looking up that weird, you get into, some shady individuals, my friend.
Well, you're right. It's not Facebook jail because they buried my ass. They disabled the account, told me to not pass go, don't collect my money, just go straight to jail. Straight to jail.
To jail. Believe it or not, jail.
Jail. You go straight to jail. But anyway, I think it's a page. I'll have to look it up later and maybe post it to something. We do not have, as of this recording, we do not have an official Instagram page for the podcast anymore. They dissolved it. Somehow my private one survived. Still don't know how that worked. My private Facebook page is gone. Kaput. Coach and Heater and there's one other lady that are admins on the podcast Facebook page. According to Heater, and I think Coach saw it just a few minutes ago.
I just updated the profile picture to the Sasquatch
alien
with
thing.
The UFO, just to see if it was still there, and it's still there.
All right. So that one's still there. The private group, I think, is still there. I cannot join it from my new.
No, it is the private group's the one I just updated the profile picture to. According to this, I'm on the public page, and it says it's still there. So
the private group with the messenger, I don't know if that one's still there. I can't join the private pages because my account's so new. I don't have enough followers. And I did that. We did that to keep, we thought, bots from trying to join and hijack, but because we accept everybody as long as it doesn't look like you threw up on a keyboard. But that's TikTok's still up there. I posted something on it a couple of days ago trying to talk about the hack. If anybody has any alternative pages or platforms that we can get on, send them. Right now, the Mysterious Brews at Gmail still works. I've changed every password I can think of.
Well, I know that these hackers, man, they target old people. So it's not surprising to me that you got taken advantage of.
I like how you throw that word around, and in about 4 years, you're going to be right where I'm at?
Yeah, but you'll be 4 years older still.
It's all right. I'll be the double nickel.
Don't worry, man. I done been contacting people in the elder law just to make sure that you're not being abused.
Yeah. The local
Signing away your pension and shit.
The local DA here, if I could prove that it was elder abuse, she'd go scorched earth. That's one thing she don't put up with, boys and girls. Harm a child or harm an elderly person or take advantage of either one of them.
That's good, though.
It is. For her. I had grand jury duty, and something happened. Like somebody swindled an old lady out of like $1,500 for like roof or tree. I think it was a tree service. I know that's a shock. Tree service people are swindlers.
Listen, I had jury duty one time, and I got dismissed by the defense. I got dismissed by the defense. And when I tell you what this person was about to go to jail for a year for, you're going to think, how could that lawyer dismiss me? This guy was arrested for being drunk in public.
In public?
In public. And he broke 2 car windows. And they wanted to give him a year for destruction of property, public drunkenness, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there in the jury pool going, I can't send nobody to jail for that. Not something that, who ain't done something like that? Who among us
has never thought, let's bust that window?
And his lawyer dismissed me, and me and that dude made eye contact. And he knew, and I knew, that she had made a big mistake. And he looked at me like, I'm going to jail. Because it only takes one person to not agree.
That's right. So
and I was not going to be, well, your job is to determine whether he's guilty or not guilty. No, my job is to determine whether the punishment fits the crime.
Amen.
And a year in jail for breaking a car window? No.
So if you are into lawyers with a little bit of gumption and a backbone, there is a guy on TikTok. He's on Facebook. He gets a lot of hate on Facebook. He's out of Knoxville, Tennessee. His name is Attorney Christmas, and it is Christmas just like the holiday. Him and his wife have a law firm together. He has gone scorched earth on the sheriff's department in Clinton, Tennessee, and Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And the latest one in Clinton, Tennessee is a lady who had survived cancer and lost her husband within the same year, went to Food City in Clinton, Tennessee. I guess they have self-checkouts. And she did all of her checking out, forgot 4 bananas and a $9 bag of frozen shrimp. But her total that she paid was over $125, and the Clinton, Tennessee Police Department showed up on scene and arrested her and charged her with shoplifting and is taking her to court to try to put a sentence, like a term on her. And he said that he was, I think his exact words were, by God, I'm defending this lady, so she needs to get in contact with me, and I will not charge a dime.
That's crazy.
And the reason he's all on Oak Ridge is they have a deputy on dash cam and body cam taking pictures of a woman's feet that they pulled over for speeding.
Nice.
Yeah.
It sounds like a heck of a guy.
Yeah, and that's basically what he said. And he don't pull any punches at all. He's a fairly large man. He's tattooed up, and it's hilarious to listen to some of those. I mean, he's got there's probably 10 videos on Oak Ridge and their shenanigans. So
yeah.
And it's gotten so bad that they want him to run for, I think, one of the judicial seats, or there's another one, maybe another political seat out there, but they really want him to get on the bench. But you know who's the mayor of Knoxville, don't you?
Oh yeah, Glenn Jacobs,
Also
better known
known.
as Kane
That's right, baby.
from the WWE.
Can you see that big bastard in a suit addressing the
I
council?
have seen it. I've seen him.
It's hilarious, man. But anyway, all right, boys and girls, that's enough of the BS of my life here lately. Last thing, so where I'm at now is in the great state of Alabama, and the county I'm in, every teacher gets $1,000 per year to spend in their classroom. The only stipulation is you can't buy appliances. I was told on Thursday, first day children came back, that the guy that I replaced did not spend his $1,000. So I had until the end of August to spend said $1,000. By Friday at 2:00, I had spent $998.74.
Nice.
Yeah. Daddy got a new keyboard, a new mouse, a new chair. I think that's it. The rest of it was like tables and chairs. Them chairs are expensive on Amazon.
Yes, they are.
Because I found one that I wanted. It's got the swivel, like the little desk swivel thing. So and it's even got a cup holder, even though they can't have drinks. But it swivels from one. I don't know if it's the left arm or the right arm, but it swivels over and makes a little desk, and it's probably about a 2-inch cushion. They look real comfortable. So I was like, yeah, I'll take one of those or two of those. They come in 6-packs. They're $900 a 6-pack.
What is?
These chairs.
You bought a 6-pack of chairs?
I tried. And then I was like, maybe next time. Daddy needs a new office chair because the one I inherited, I like spray down with Lysol every day thinking, Lord, please don't let this be what gets me. I will say I have, like a good teacher should, and any other person that works in a situation like this, I have befriended the lead maintenance guy, also known as janitor. I know that's got a stigmatism now. They call them maintenance men. The school maintenance guy, me and him are on first name basis. And the lunch ladies, got them eating out of my hand. Take care of both of them. They'll take care of you. All right. So let's jump back into this Beaumont children thing. Maybe we can keep Coach active. Maybe not.
I'm trying, man.
All right, so part one, we left off with how the parents, Jim and Nancy, received a letter, and it was signed by the 3 children, Jane, Arna, and Grant. And so this was the 2nd anniversary of the disappearance, and on that day, the Melbourne Herald printed a series of stories over the course of 3 days. And for these stories, Jim and Nancy were interviewed. In these articles, they both expressed their firm belief that the children were out there somewhere alive and that they would be coming home one day. It was shortly after these articles were published that a letter arrived at the Beaumont home. Now, a letter, or not a letter, but this letter was written in blue ink, reportedly in Jane Beaumont's handwriting. And it was signed by all 3. And here's what the letter said, and it's a little lengthy, so just bear with us. Quote, "Dear Mom and Dad, we are safe, so there is no need to worry about us. Oh, we really missed you in the last 2 years. At the beach on that day, we were walking to the bus stop when a man in a car stopped and asked us if we wanted to ride. I said that we did, and that is how it all started. The man would not let us ride before he is letting us ride tonight, because he saw the story in the Herald tonight and he felt sorry for you both. He watched us a lot for about 6 weeks, and then he did not watch us so much. Arna and I are often talk about you, but Grant does not remember you at all. After more than 2 years, we've been well fed all the time. I, as well as Arna and Grant, hope that you are both well. The man said to me just now that he will be willing to let us go if you will come over to Victoria and get us, as long as you do not call the police. He said that if you do, the deal is off. You have to pick us up in front of the Dandenong Post Office at 10 minutes to 9 o'clock next Monday, the 26th of February. You, Dad, have to wear a dark coat and white pants so that the man will know you. The man told me to tell you that the police must not know at all. He said that if you do tell them, you may as well not come. So please don't tell them. The Dandenong Post Office is in Victoria area in case you did not know. We are all looking forward to seeing you next Monday. Please do not tell the police. The man did not mean to harm us. We still love you both. Love, Jane, Arna, and Grant. So, you can imagine what that has done when the parents received that letter. So, the chief of the Adelaide Homicide Department at the time was a man named Stanley Swain. And when the Beaumonts showed him the letter, he began trying to figure out if it was legitimate by comparing the handwriting in one of Jane's old school notebooks to the handwriting in the letter.
Who's going to just let them write a letter like that, though?
I know. But
that's the craziest thing I've ever heard of.
And that's when I read this initially, I was like, this is not going to end well. But anyway.
Hey, I don't mean to interrupt, but remind me, we got a 5-star review you didn't let me read.
Well, let's do it now, man. Let's go for it.
Yes. Well, I'm trying not to scratch my damn foot off. I got attacked by hornets yesterday or 2 days ago.
Hornets?
And yeah, you didn't let me talk about that either. You just want to jump in the damn cave.
I said we didn't have no patrons, and you was like,
I was
playing Candy Crush.
I wasn't doot-to-dooting. You lying sack of shit. I was probably scratching my foot or dealing with a damn dog. But patrons and 5-star reviews are different.
But they go together like peas and carrots.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, my right ankle looks about 4 sizes bigger than my left ankle. I got stung at least 7 times.
How did you find hornets? Ground hornets?
I guess. Yellow jackets or something, because they were damn sure on the ground.
Yeah, you got them yellow jackets.
I was just sitting on a park bench at work, just enjoying my lunch. And
then
just
somebody said,
my foot was on fire. Felt like I was being clawed by Satan himself.
Devil darts right there.
Oh, man, it was awful. Well, hell, let's do the 5-star review now. I've done interrupted everything. It's like I stopped scratching. I clued in that we were actually doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Says, listen with about 12 exclamation points by Rylick or RLYREHC. R lyric or don't judge me. I can't read. Says, I absolutely love these guys. All caps, the word love. I really need to listen to shows that tell the stories without getting too much into the gruesome details. Arlo and Coach are perfect if that's what you're looking for. Though, to be honest, I just realized the one was named Arlo. I thought they were both Coach. They both were Coach. I would love if they went ahead and had a second podcast where they just chatted with each other because they are so funny. And when they get going, these guys could be my friends. This is the perfect show to unwind with at the end of this very stressful day. You darn tootin'.
Yeah. We're likable fellers.
I don't know about you. I know I'm not. In real life, I'm just a grumpy son of a bitch.
Oh, now, yeah.
Every day I come home, and my wife's like, oh, shit. He's grumpy again. And she'll call me, she'll be like, you're a grump. She'll call me grump. For some reason, being called a grump does not solve being grumpy.
It's like telling you to calm down. Oh, you're upset? Just calm down. That's all you got to do.
She's trying her best not to cut her eyes at me right now.
Oh,
there's the
there it is. There it is.
Anyway, jumping back into this case.
Okay, so
who's going to let them write a letter?
2 years, too.
We're okay, but we ain't coming home.
2 years to the date. Well, 2 years, and it was after. So this, like alarm bells when I saw this is some jackleg that is just pulling on the heartstrings of Jim and Nancy. So, yeah, it's awful. But anyway, going back to it. So Chief Swain felt that the handwriting was similar enough that the letter could have been written by Jane, even though Jane's sister Arna, her name was misspelled, which should have been a glaring red flag. But again, I can't, when we said this 1,000 times in part one, I can't imagine what they're going through, and this would have been just the ray of hope that they wanted. So, but anyway, you have to also understand that the Adelaide police were searching for these kids, and it became very personal. They had pictures of these kids in their offices and on their desks. And so Chief Swain probably just wanted to grab this one lead because they didn't have any for so long, and wanted to put all his effort and the police department's effort into this investigation. So because of the warning in the letter about not letting law enforcement know, the Beaumonts, along with Chief Swain, didn't want to make a big deal out of the letter, at least publicly. So if Chief Swain was going to help the Beaumonts, he would have to make it very low-key and basically a little secret operation. So he didn't even tell his superiors about the letter. Instead, him and the Beaumonts, they decided to travel to Melbourne on February 26th. Now, Adelaide is where the kids went missing from, and it's located in South Australia. Melbourne is located in Victoria, which is 700 miles from Adelaide.
Dang.
So that's about an 8-hour drive. So Jim, Nancy, and then
That's
Chief.
more than an 8-hour drive. How damn fast you driving, son?
I don't know. That's what they said in the article I read. Beats me, brother. They don't have speed limits across the outback, I guess.
Well, I guess not.
So Jim and Nancy, like I said, along with Chief Swain, borrowed a car, and that car was driven by one of Swain's associates, and they left Adelaide at 3 a.m. And once in Melbourne, they switched cars just to be safe. They also checked into 2 separate motels so that the man who was holding Jane, Arna, and Grant would never see Jim and Nancy with anybody else. The hope was that he wouldn't get suspicious. Jim and Nancy checked into a motel about 4 miles outside of Dandenong, which is a suburb of Melbourne. They used Nancy's maiden name, Ellis, to check into the motel once again to keep their tracks covered. So at 9 a.m., Jim stood in front of the post office wearing a blue blazer and white pants, and he waited while Chief Swain watched from a nearby van. Jim waited for the next 6 hours, but his children never showed up. However, there was a lot of communication going on inside the post office, unbeknownst to Jim. A man called the post office that morning and, speaking in an Australian accent, asked the woman who was working the counter that day, whose name was Alice Parker, if she could tell him if there was a man standing outside wearing white pants and a blue blazer. He said if there was, would Alice be so kind to let the man in the blue blazer know that he was running late, but he would be there as quickly as he could. So Alice went outside, relayed the message to Jim, and when she got back to the counter inside the post office, she was informed by another employee that while she had been outside, another call had come in, asking them to once again tell the man outside that someone would be there soon. Then the phone rang again a little bit later, and this time the message for Jim was that little Grant was sick, and so this man who allegedly had Grant, Arna, and Jane was going to be delayed again, and he wouldn't be there until after lunch. Yet another call came in instructing Jim to go across the street and receive a message from a shop. Finally, at around 3 p.m., Jim realized no one was coming. So he left his spot in front of the post office, heartbroken and crushed. For the next 2 days, Jim did the same thing. He stood in front of that post office from the early morning until the late afternoon, but nothing ever happened. No one ever came, and there were no more calls or messages.
Very strange.
Extremely. Now, there would be letters waiting for Jim and Nancy when they returned home in Somerton Park. One letter was once again signed Jane, Arna, and Grant, and it said, quote, "Dear Mom and Dad, we had a really beautiful lunch today. We had some turkey and a lot of vegetables. They tasted really nice. The man is feeding us really well. The man took us to see The Sound of Music yesterday. Little Grant fell asleep in it, though. He could not understand it. The man was very disappointed that you brought all those policemen with you. He knew all the time that they were there. He says that is why he sent the message to go across the street so that it would disturb the positions of the policemen. The man said I'd better stop now, so I will. Grant, Arna, send their love." End quote.
Now, it's kind of written as how you would expect a child to write, though. you know.
It is. And from what I could gather, I never saw any like handwriting analysis, but you know, Chief Swain was, after comparing her school notebook to the letter, he was, I guess, certain enough that it could be her that he wanted to chase the lead. Now, a different letter was sent that same day, but this letter was allegedly from the man who had the Beaumont children. It said, quote, "Dear Mr. and Ms. Beaumont, I am terribly sorry that I could not hand your children back to you when you were in Dandenong. But I know that you had detectives with you and the main street was so busy. I'm taking extra good care of the kiddies for you. I took little Grant to the doctor because he gashed his knee. He's feeling a lot better now. Actually, in a way, it's your fault, but I did not return them. I saw the letter that Jane wrote before she sent it, and it definitely said that there would be no police, and you know that includes detectives as well. I apologize also for all the phone calls at the post office. Williams and Roger Davids, but I had to contact you somehow. Like Williams, the post office soon became quiet. I got frantic when they would not give you any more messages. Then I got into contact with whom I believe was the Dandenong post office master. I guess it's too late now, isn't it? I will put them on a train to Adelaide one of these days in the near future. So you would better have their rooms cleaned up. The assumed postmaster gave me a phone number to ring. I did so in a hurry, but the girl there lied miserably by saying that a Mr. G.A. Beaumont had not been registered there. If only I could have talked to you, then you might have your children safely by now. Isn't it a pity you brought those detectives? I will write you as soon as possible. I will let Jane and perhaps Arna write you. I'm sorry for all the inconvenience I have caused you over the past 2 years and quarter years nearly. Yours faithfully, the man." End quote. So, a complete douchebag.
Yeah, but what if he was telling the truth? How could you, if he would have gave your kids back if you didn't have detectives there?
Well, there was only that one chief. So, and he was in a van. That's the one thing. And then I think the one that stuck out to me, I don't buy the detective thing. I didn't buy that at all. The one thing that I did think about was when they registered under her maiden name. What if he had used Jim Beaumont? Would it have made a difference? I don't think it would have, but I think that's what, and I really can't put myself in Jim's position, but that would be what I probably kept me up at night about. But anyway, so yet another letter arrived, this one much shorter and sadder. Quote, "Dear Mom and Dad, I wish you could have gotten us when you were over here, but the man said you brought some policemen with you. I wish that you had not done that. If you had not, we might have been home by now with you both. The man said that he will let us come home on the train one day. I want you to know and never forget, no matter what happens, that we still love you both very much. Love, Jane, Arna, and Grant." End quote. Now, personally, it takes a sick bastard to send these letters.
Yes, absolutely.
Whoever had written these letters had clearly been tipped off to the presence of Chief Swain. But it wasn't true that they had seen all of these detectives there, because we know, just as we have explained, that Swain was the only one there, and the driver, but it sounds like the driver was just his driver, not a policeman. Now, the question is, how did the letter writer figure all this out? Well, there's a couple of things here that we have to keep in mind, and it all leads back to the media. First of all, these letters arrived after that series of articles on the 2-year anniversary of the Beaumont children's disappearance. So in these articles, Nancy and Jim were saying, we still believe that they're alive out there somewhere, and they're going to come home. Whoever wrote the letters obviously said, oh, these parents still have hope. They have hope that their kids are going to come home, so let me just fuck with them a little bit more.
That's terrible.
If it wasn't
no hoax, it's still just awful. Awful.
It is. And I just don't get how people interject themselves into investigations anyway, especially when it deals with missing children. It takes a sick individual to do this shit. But we know the Beaumonts and Mr. Swain had been very careful, and they had covered their tracks, switching cars, checking into different motels, using different names. There was, however, one mistake that was made. When Chief Swain checked into a different hotel, he used his real name. And the manager of that hotel actually contacted local law enforcement because he had been told to watch out for strangers due to a recent increase in crime in the area. So a Dandenong police officer checked into this stranger, ran Swain's name, found out that this police officer also called that the Melbourne Herald. He never talked to Swain himself. Let's not go up to him and ask for his credentials. Let's just go back channel and call the fucking press. But anyway, then the Melbourne Herald sent 2 reporters out to check into it, and before you know it, other publications had the information, and on the day that Jim was supposed to stand in front of the post office and get his kids back, at least a dozen reporters were staked out in front of the post office watching.
Really?
Yes. Then the Melbourne Herald reported that the Beaumonts and a detective had made a secret trip to the area to try and recover the lost children, and from there it was obviously all downhill. So in 1992, the Dandenong letters were analyzed with current technology. They were able to pull fingerprints from the paper and the envelopes, and those fingerprints traced back to a 41-year-old piece of shit living in Melbourne. This piece of shit would have been 17 years old in 1968 when the letters were written. Even though it turned out to be a hoax, it still solidifies how much the media interfered. The man who had written the letters, who, like I said, was 17 at the time, initially tried to deny it. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but eventually he admitted that he had written letters as a hoax once he figured out that the statute of limitations had run out and he couldn't be held responsible legally for anything. I would have beat the brakes off of him.
Absolutely.
I'd have been like, hey man, you want me to walk you to the car? And then you're going to fall down the stairs, even if that place doesn't have stairs. I would have, man. I have no compassion for people like this. I don't. I really don't. And I know,
who can blame you?
I know that's not the good Christian thing to say, but me and Jesus talk about this sometimes.
And what'd he say?
He says I need to do better. And I tell him that I will, but we can't hurt children. And he says he agrees too, but he doesn't want me to be his enforcement sticks, what he told me.
I trust him.
I do too. Now, with all that said, Jim, here's the thing. This guy also is the same turd burglar that called the post office. All right. And it's one thing to be a grade A piece of shit and send letters, but it's another to like up the ante and call and toy with the man even more. So he did call the post office to give Jim the messages, making him stand out there even longer and longer, clinging to the hope that he would basically see his children. The name of this man has never been revealed, and the Adelaide police said, quote, we are able to confirm the letters were in fact written by the male person, but were in no way connected to the disappearance of the 3 children. We understand the person involved is extremely remorseful, and it would seem that an act that he had carried out as an immature youth has come back to haunt him, end quote. Yeah, no shit. But this was another nail in the coffin of Jim and Nancy Beaumont's already dwindling hope and happiness. It was cruel. It was unusual, torture. And again, I just do not understand what kind of pleasure somebody gets from doing something like that.
Yeah, for real.
And that was really all that ever came about the case. We have a handful of legitimate sightings the day the Beaumont children disappeared, but that's about it. And in recent years, there's a question about how legitimate those sightings were. Any developments that happened after that over the years, such as those letters, ended up leading nowhere. There were people who claimed they saw the children all over the world, but it never was actually the Beaumont children. There are 3 cases that we're going to talk about that all happened in Australia, and they all dealt with more than one child being attacked or taken. One happened the year before, and the other 2 happened in the years after. 2 out of the 3 centered around Adelaide. So let's start with the one case that happened before the Beaumont children vanished and almost exactly a year before they vanished. And I'm doing this so that we can eventually get to suspects in these cases that look pretty good for the Beaumont children's abduction. So you have Marianne Schmidt and Christine Chirac. And that's how I'm going to pronounce it. So if you're from Australia and you pronounce it different, let us know. It's spelled Sharrock. Now, Marianne and Christine met each other when Marianne moved from Melbourne to Sydney to a little suburb called West Ryde in 1963. Marianne and her family were originally from West Germany. They had settled in Melbourne for a few years, but ended up in Sydney when Marianne's father, Helmut, good solid German name there.
That is 100% German name right there.
It's when Helmut was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. He would pass away the year after they moved, leaving his wife Elizabeth with 6 children. Marianne and her siblings, Helmut Jr., Peter, Trixie, Wolfgang, another great one, and Norber. That's a name you don't hear often. Norber. How do you feel about Norber? I don't like it. I don't like it.
I mean, it's better than like Brayson, Gason, and all them weird names we're getting these days.
Have I ever told you about the kid that I taught whose last name was Wall and his first name was Brick?
His first name was Brick.
Yes, sir.
You had a kid named Brick Wall.
Yes, sir.
I know of a kid, just his name is Sir.
Oh, that's even better.
S-I-R, Sir.
So Brick Wall's mother came to open house when I was a fledgling teacher, year 2 or 3. And we got to asking her, she had a great personality. And we were like, all right, come here. Brick, really? She was like, yeah, it's great. And I'm like, no, it's really not. But I didn't say that. She goes, I was hoping I'd have another son. I was going to call him Stone.
Interesting.
I mean, I like a parent with a good sense of humor, but it's like calling him Sue.
Hey, it worked out.
It did. Yeah, it
you
did.
gotta get tough or die.
That's right. You could have named me anything but Sue.
I still like that name.
So, all right. So right next door to Marianne's family was Christine Chirac, who lived with her grandparents, Jim and Jeanette. Marianne and Christine were the same age, and so they became best friends very quickly. So in January of 1965, Marianne's mother, Elizabeth, became ill and was in and out of the hospital, so there were many days when she left her 2 older children, Marianne and Helmut Jr., in charge of the house and the younger kids. On January 1st of 1965, Marianne and her best friend Christine were alone, and they ended up spending the day at Wanda Beach in Cronulla, where apparently they met a couple of boys. Oh, I know. So Cronulla is a seaside suburb in Sydney. Say that real quick.
Seaside suburb.
Seaside suburb in Sydney. Seaside suburb in Sydney. And it's well known for its great swimming spots and its surfing. So like Glenelg in Adelaide, Cronulla was a popular area for both locals and tourists. Also like Glenelg, Cronulla has a beach as well as several other beaches, one of which is Wanda Beach. And that is the furthest north of the beaches at Cronulla. Now, Wanda Beach is also the furthest away from the shops and the restaurants and was known as more of a quiet, family-friendly beach. It had become a spot loved by Marianne's family for beach days and picnics. So on January 2nd, Marianne's mother was admitted to the hospital for major surgery. So Marianne and Helmut Jr. took their younger siblings to the beach. Christine was not with them this time. But on January 10th, Marianne and Christine planned to take Marianne's siblings back to the beach, but it was a rain and cold day. So they changed their plans. So the next day, they boarded a train for Cronulla with Marianne's 4 youngest siblings, 10-year-old Peter, 9-year-old Trixie, 8-year-old Wolfgang, and 6-year-old Norbert. The weather was still not ideal because it was gray, a little cold, really windy, but the rain had stopped. So the group was surprised when they arrived at 11 a.m. to find that the beach was closed due to high winds. Undeterred, Marianne and Christine walked the younger children to the southern end of the beach, which was a rocky area where they could take shelter from the wind behind some much larger rocks. Little Wolfgang still wanted to take a swim, so his big sister Marianne respectfully walked him to a shell area of the water. I'm thinking it's kind of like a tidal pool. Yeah. And it was there that Wolfgang claimed he initially saw a blonde surfer-type teenager fishing for crabs with either a fishing knife or a spear. Now, there are articles out there that state that the guy had a knife in his pocket and the fishing spear in his hand, so tomato, tomato. When Marianne and Wolfgang returned to the rest of the group, they all had lunch, eating sandwiches that they had brought with them, except for Marianne's friend Christine, who had wandered off by herself for a little bit. When Christine returned and lunch was over, they all decided to take a walk to the sandhills just behind Wanda Beach. Now, these are sand dunes, and they are, or they used to be, much bigger and much more spread out back then. But they're kind of small now. At around 1 p.m., the group was about 400 yards past the Wanda Beach Surf Club when the younger children began to complain about the intense wind slapping them in the face and blowing sand into their mouths. So Christine and Marianne took the children behind one of the taller sand dunes so that they could escape the wind, and Marianne did something out of character. She left her radio with her 4 younger siblings, and she told them that her and her and her friend Christine were going to walk back to the area where they had eaten lunch behind those rocks. She said they were going to grab their bags, towels, and other personal items that they had left there, and they were going to bring those back so that they could all go home. Instead, they continued to walk further into the sand dunes, and when Marianne's little brother Peter yelled out that they were going the wrong way, the girls just ignored him and kept walking. So Peter, Trixie, Wolfgang, and Norbert waited behind that sand dune for another 4 hours, at which point Peter said, quote, "I don't think they're coming back. Maybe we should go to the area where we left the bags, because if we don't leave now, we're going to miss the last train home," end quote. So the kids thought maybe they had misunderstood Marianne and Christine. Maybe Marianne wanted them to meet her and Christine at the area where the rocks were. Maybe they were not going to come back, and maybe Christine and Marianne were waiting for them there. When Peter, now the oldest of the group and the one in charge, led the other kids to the rocky area of the beach where they had had lunch, he found all of their bags and personal items still there, but Marianne and Christine were not there. The 4 children gathered up their things and took the train home, arriving at around 8 p.m. Marianne and Christine were reported missing by 8:30 p.m., and a search began. Now, unlike the Beaumont children, the search would be called off the very next morning, because the morning of January 13th, 1965, 17-year-old Peter Smith was walking through the Wanda Beach sandhills with his 3 young nephews when he saw what he thought was, what do we think we always see, and it's never one of those. You guessed it, a mannequin.
Oh, yep. Dang it. I was hoping it was a mermaid.
Well, they are down there.
Hey, how many mannequins end up in the water?
Well, yeah. I mean, how many mannequins wind up in a ditch?
I don't know. Maybe
question.
We should go throw one so somebody somewhere can find a mannequin in a ditch.
We're going to be YouTube famous. So, just like every time before, boys and girls, it is never a mannequin.
Unfortunately not.
And it wasn't this time either. It was Christine Chirac. And next to Christine lay her best friend, Marianne Schmidt. They had been brutally murdered, and they were both only 15 years old when this happened. Christine had been hit in the back of the head viciously with a hard object, causing a skull fracture. She had also been stabbed 7 times in the back and neck, causing punctures to her lungs and liver. Marianne had been stabbed more than 15 times in her arms, chest, and back, puncturing her heart. Her throat had been sliced so viciously that her older brother would later say it looked like she had been decapitated. Based on blood spatter and a 37-yard-long drag mark in the sand, police believed that Marianne had been attacked first and Christine had tried to run away, but she was chased by the killer, who hit her in the head and then began to stab her. As Christine lay in the sand bleeding out, the killer dragged Marianne's body and placed her next to her friend. Marianne had been found lying on her right side with her left leg bent, and Christine was face down, her head against Marianne's foot. They were both found with their heads pointing toward the water. It appeared that when Christine had gone off by herself during lunch, she had consumed some alcohol along with food that the rest of the group had not eaten. This food included cabbage and celery, and none of these things were found in Marianne's stomach. Marianne also had no alcohol in her system, but Christine's blood alcohol content was 0.015. Both girls had been sexually assaulted, and reportedly semen had been recovered from their bodies and put into storage for the time when technology would be able to extract DNA from it. Unfortunately, wouldn't you know it, in 2014 it was revealed that the samples had been lost in storage. It was also reported that in 2012 they were able to get a weak DNA profile from a bloody knife gash found on one of the girls' jeans. This knife gash suggested that the killer had wiped off his knife between stabbings or after stabbings, and he used their clothes to do it. Since the beach was so cold, windy, and isolated that day, there were not the same eyewitnesses that came out when the Beaumont children went missing. However, Marianne's brother Wolfgang and his sister Trixie did report seeing someone on the train to the beach and someone at the beach. Trixie claimed that a tall boy who looked about 15 years old had spoken to them on the train to the beach, and Wolfgang claimed that was the same boy he had seen fishing for crabs, and he had also followed his sister and Christine as they headed off further into the sand dunes. Because Trixie and Wolfgang were so young at the time, their descriptions were not very detailed, and we don't know if the two teenage boys, the one from the train and the one hunting for crabs, were even the same person. To this day, the horrible and brutal murders of these two 15-year-old girls has not been solved, although there are several suspects. There are some similarities between what happened at Wanda Beach to Christine and Marianne and what happened at Gleneagle Beach to Jane, Arna, and Grant Beaumont. The Beaumont children's bodies were never found, but maybe that's because their killer learned from his crime the previous year. If there were no bodies left behind, there would be no way to gather blood or semen and ever connect the murders to him. In both situations, we seem to have a stranger finding a way to earn the trust of young victims. It's possible that Marianne and Christine had encountered this man at the beach before, so maybe he didn't feel like a stranger to them that day. When Christine wandered away during lunch, it's possible it was to rendezvous with him at a predetermined meeting place, maybe the place they always met in the sand dunes. When she found him there, she had lunch with him, as Marianne was having lunch with her siblings, which lets us know that Christine and Marianne definitely wanted to keep the teenage boy a secret from the younger children, most likely because they had all been instructed not to talk to strangers. So this guy has lunch with Christine. He gives her alcohol to make her a little bit more compliant and trusting, and probably also to make her a little disoriented, so that if she did try to run away, she'd be less likely to be successful.
How much alcohol did he give her?
I don't know. I don't know the blood alcohol, how that equates, but a 15-year-old with a 0.015, I don't know.
Well, pretty drunk. So a good amount.
There we go. So Christine and Marianne arranged for the younger kids to be in a safe place behind the sand dunes with a radio. And when Christine returned to Marianne and her siblings, it's possible she pulled Marianne aside and said, "Hey, our friend, the guy over there in the sand dunes, or is over there in the sand dunes, we should go and meet him. He has some drinky drink." And they probably only planned to be gone for, 30 to 45 minutes, but were attacked during that time. In the case of the Beaumont children, we also have a strange man gaining their trust in buying them food and building a relationship. Both cases happened at the beach. Both cases happened in January. Both cases included young children and a man who some people have said resembled a surfer guy, although the ages don't match up, because the Gleneagle surfer guy was described to be in his 30s and the Wanda Beach surfer guy is described as a teenager. Now, the boy fishing for crabs, who Wolfgang claimed that the girls may not even be connected to, because a local firefighter named Dennis Dostine saw Marianne and Christine at Wanda Beach that afternoon. He was playing with his young son when he saw them walking fast not far from the surf club. He said they were walking very quickly and they kept looking over their shoulder as if they were being followed, but he didn't see anybody following them. More than likely, Christine and Marianne were not looking over their shoulders to check if they were being followed or because they thought they were being followed. More than likely, they were looking over their shoulder to make sure that Marianne's siblings were not following them because they didn't want other kids to follow them to mess up their plans to meet the boy. So now let's fast forward to August 25th, 1973, when 11-year-old Joanne Ratcliffe and 4-year-old Kirsty Gordon were among the 13,000 people watching a soccer match at the Adelaide Oval. Now, the Oval is a large sports arena which is used for cricket and soccer, but it also hosted concerts and is located on War Memorial Drive in North Adelaide. Joanne's parents, along with Kirsty's grandmother, were season ticket holders, and they always sat next to each other every weekend in the Sir Edwin Smith stand. Joanne was usually dragged along to these matches and was usually bored. So on this day, she was extremely excited when she saw that Kirsty was there. Now, Kirsty had never been to the Oval before, but her parents were out of town that weekend, and she was being watched by her grandmother. Joanne and Kirsty began playing together in the stands, with Joanne taking on the motherly role since she was older. And when Kirsty had to use the bathroom, Joanne offered to take her. The two girls go to the bathroom, and they come back. They would leave the stands 2 more times, once to get straws for their drinks, and once again around 3:45 to use the bathroom again. It was on that second bathroom trip that they never returned. At 4:06, Joanne's parents left the stand to search for the two girls. Kirsty's grandmother stayed behind just in case the girls came back. The Ratcliffes searched everywhere throughout the Adelaide Oval, but they never found Joanne or Kirsty. And to this day, no one knows what happened to these two young girls. Several people did see them in the presence of a tall man with a thin face who was wearing a wide-brimmed hat. 13-year-old Anthony Kilmartin claimed that he had seen Joanne and Kirsty while he was selling candy in the Sir Edwin Smith stand, and he had to sort of move out of the way so they could get down the stairs. Anthony also claimed that he saw a man who had been watching the girls, and this man got up and ran after the girls, catching up to them near the south gate. Reportedly, at this point, this man scooped up the smaller girl, 4-year-old Kirsty, and the older girl, Joanne, looked afraid initially and then began grabbing the man, kicking him in the knees. Anthony claimed that the man tried to shake Joanne off, telling her to get lost, but when that didn't work, he grabbed her as well and drug her and Kirsty to the gate out to the corner of the tennis courts near a pine tree. Several other people saw the same sort of interaction, a man holding a smaller girl and an older girl grabbing and hitting him, and everyone just assumed it was a family matter and that the man was their father, or at least the father of the little girl.
See, I don't like that. Just everybody just assumes, oh, it's just the family spat. You know, it's like, come on, man.
It's like that. It's like that. I think there's an actual video of this guy carrying this toddler by the belt loop and the waistband, and he's like horizontal, and everybody's looking at him, popping out their phones, and he stops and he goes, "He's mine, because let me tell you something. If I was going to take one, it wouldn't be this ruckus little shit." But yeah, I mean, you're right. I wonder how many times, and I know it's different. It was in the early 70s. I wasn't even born, so don't come at me with the old jokes.
I don't know, dude. He's probably in, 3rd grade in 1970.
Dude, that about came out my nose. You shouldn't do that when I'm drinking. But anyway, I wonder how many times that happens where everybody's like, it's probably just dad having to deal with a little turd kid, and it's not. But anyway, so 14-year-old Sue Lowry was visiting the Adelaide Zoo with her father and sister that day when she saw two young girls on a footbridge not far from the Oval. Sue said, quote, "I saw a man coming at a rapid pace towards us on the gravel path carrying a young child. Following behind, running to keep up with him, was a girl, and she was absolutely punching this man as hard as she could in the back and saying, 'Put her down, and she was upset,' end quote. There's never been any evidence as to where Joanne and Kirsty could be or who took them, but there are suspects, and some of those suspects overlap with suspects from the Wanda Beach murders and from the Beaumont children abduction. So at that point, that's that whole social experiment. At that point, I would hope if I saw that, I would step up and be like, look, dude, what's going on? Like, are they yours? But I don't know. I mean, I say that because I've never been in that situation. So the family murders is the name given to a series of 5 cruel murders and at least 150 incidences of sexual abuse committed by an alleged group of individuals who have become known as the family. And this could be an episode in itself. Now, this group operated out of the city of Adelaide in the 1970s and 1980s. Because, and when I tell you that this could be a episode in itself, we probably could do 5 parts just on the family. And that would only cover the murders. So I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version, so don't come at me with no hate, okay? Also, moving forward, if you have allowed your children to listen to part 1 and up to this in part 2, I suggest you do not let them listen any further.
It's far too late for that, man.
Oh, it's about to get nasty.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so buckle up, Buttercup.
We just had a review said they didn't like the gruesome details.
Well, I'm sorry. We have to go over this one. And I'm going to be as, like I said, Cliff Notey as I can. So, these family murders all seem to connect back to a man named Bevan Spencer von Einem. And his name is spelled, the last one is E-I-N-E-M. And I want to call him Eminem every time. So, if I do, you know why. So although it's believed that this man built a network of roughly 25 to 30 people, von Einem was the only person who was ever charged and convicted, and only for one crime, the murder of 15-year-old Richard Calvin. He was also put on trial for 2 other murders we're going to talk about. There were people who came and testified against him, and I guess that there just wasn't enough evidence to convict him on those. So Richard Calvin was abducted on the afternoon of June 5th, 1983. His brutalized body was found on an airstrip road on July 24th, and it is believed that for the majority of that time, at least 5 weeks, Richard was held in captivity. I hate this shit. During that time, he was consistently tortured and raped. When Richard was found, he had various drugs in his body, such as Rohypnol, Mandrex, and Valium. He had died from massive blood loss that was sustained from an anal injury.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So a year and 3 months prior, the body of another young man was found on Sprigg Road in Piccadilly. He was identified as 18-year-old Mark Langley, who had been missing since February 27th, 1982. Mark had also died from the same thing, massive blood loss from the same area. And among his injuries, one stood out in particular, a wound that appeared to have been cut with a surgical instrument from his navel to his pubic region. He had been shaved as if he was having an operation in a hospital, and a portion of his small intestine was missing. Detectives later theorized that some physical evidence had possibly become trapped inside his bowel due to the torture that he was going through, and his captors had cut that portion of his intestines out to be safe. Mark also had Mandrex, a sedative, in his system. Like Richard, Mark had been washed and redressed before his body was dumped to get rid of any forensic evidence. On August 27, 1981, 14-year-old Peter Stogneff vanished, and his body was not found until almost a year later. His body was only discovered after a farmer had been backburning a portion of the area in which he was found. Now, for those of you that don't know what that is, backburning is where you set a fire to run towards a wildfire to basically snuff it out. Unfortunately, Peter's body was burned in this backburning process, leaving only a skeleton, so there was really no way to tell how he had died or if he had any substances in his system at the time of his death. His skeleton showed signs of cutting similar to another victim, Neil Muir. Now, Neil was 25 years old when he vanished on August 27th of 1979. Neil's body was also not found for a year, but when he was found, it was determined that his body had been cut into 4 sections, just above the knees, above the hips, and at the neck. Neil had also died from blood loss suffered from the same area. His organs had been removed. His scrotum had been cut open. His testicles had been cut off. The head of his penis had been basically cut off, and the shaft of the penis had been sliced down the midline. I'm going to gargle bleach.
Dude, you are not kidding, bro. I don't even want to listen to that.
I don't want to even talk about this, but
oh my God.
Yeah, we have to get through this. And
somebody is depraved.
That's an understatement. Like, I wanted to beat the shit out of the other guy. I want to dig this bastard up and set fire to him.
Yeah.
So the first victim in the family murders of 5 was a 16-year-old named Alan Barnes, and he was abducted on June 17, 1979. His body was found a week later. Alan shared many of the similarities with the other victim. He had died from blood loss due to that massive injury, like all the other ones. And I'm not saying it over and over again. You get the gist of it. He had a sedative in his system. He had been washed and redressed before his body was dumped. Again, only one person has been brought to justice, and for only one murder, Bevan Spencer von Einen. But it's very clear from looking at all 5 of these murders that the same person, or at least the same people, were involved in each one. Now, the popular belief is that all 5 of these murders were the work of a tight-knit group of 5 or 6 adult men nicknamed the Family, who were all loosely connected to each other and were brought together by von Einen. Now, von Einen was eventually captured and convicted in 1984 for the torture and murder of 15-year-old Richard Calvin, who was the son of Adelaide Channel 9 news anchor Rob Calvin. The Family, whose nickname was coined by a South Australian detective who vowed to break up the quote, unquote, happy family of the suspected wealthy elite tight-knit group of men in Adelaide who everyone kind of believed were responsible for not only the 5 murders, but for the kidnapping and sexual assault of at least 150 young men and boys. 150. Not depraved. There's something off. Like there's a whole, like, the wiring's gone.
Yeah. That's oh my God.
Yeah. So these 5 or 6 men are who let's try that again.
Let's run it back.
These 5 or 6 men are who people believe were the ones responsible for the majority of these crimes, but then there's an additional 15 to 20 people on the periphery who kind of were involved in the luring of victims, hiding them, and with maybe the disposal of the bodies. Now, this reminds me of that. When we did Johnny Gosh, what was that? The guy that owned that Family Savings and Loan, wasn't he a part of some weird?
The Lincoln Financial thing.
Yeah.
Lincoln Savings and Loan. I can't remember his name, but yeah,
that's what it reminds me of.
Absolutely.
All right, so Bevan Spencer von Einen first saw his name in the newspapers in 1972 when he was called a hero for saving the life of Roger James. Now, Roger had been beaten and thrown into the Torrens River in Adelaide for being gay. Keep in mind that during this time, being gay was illegal in Australia, and the banks of this river was kind of known as a meeting place for gay men who wanted to keep their activities secret. Sidebar, I think that's common in most towns that have a river. Because I know when I was growing up, they told you not to go behind the levee where I was at because that's where all that went down.
Really?
Yeah.
So how was it, though? How many times did you go down there?
I was only 7, Jackleg.
You did. I noticed you didn't answer the question. I'm just saying.
So on the night of May 10th, von Einem had jumped into the river and pulled Roger James out, even though another man who had been with James sadly didn't make it. Allegedly, the men were attacked by a homophobic doctor, and von Einem jumped in the river and saved James. The question is, Did he save James, or was he and his family responsible for putting James and his companion in the river to begin with? Many of these victims that von Einem and his family attacked were also gay men or were considered to be cross-dressers at the time or drag queens. So there was a lot of parallels with that lifestyle that von Einem lived because he was a gay man, and the victims he chose, who many of them were also gay. Now, an accomplice of the family, a man named Louis Turtur, Turtur, has come forward in recent years and revealed how the group led by von Einem drug and assaulted teenage hitchhikers. Hitchhikers.
Dang, dude.
I'm killing it. I am absolutely killing it, bro. So he also admitted to allowing von Einem to use his home to bring these victims back to in the early 1970s. Allegedly, these are not necessarily the victims who ended up dead, just dozens and dozens and dozens of young men who were basically drugged, raped, tortured, and sent on their merry way the next morning. Louis Turtur, who is the brother of Olympic cycling gold medalist Mike Turtur, said he had known von Einem for years. He said that von Einem would pick up the boys on the side of the road, bring them to Turtur's house, give them something to drink that was laced with drugs. Then von Einem and others, including Louis Turtur himself and his two roommates, would take turns raping these young men and boys. He said all of these victims were alive when they left his house the next morning. And there's an interview of this piece of shit saying this, and it's like, this is how he has rationalized it in his mind. Oh, they were alive when they left.
Like, yeah, no big deal. No big
deal that we drugged them and we took turns raping them and torturing them, but they were alive, fucker. But anyway, So in an interview with Turtur on Sky News, and you can find this on the YouTube. Oh, shit. He was asked, why did you become involved with him? What did he have that you needed? The answer was drugs. He could get drugs that no one else could. Von Einem would knock on the door 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and ask, can I use the room? I would say, okay. Then he comes in. I used to take them in the room and have sex with them. And then when we went into the room the next morning to wake them up, they wouldn't wake up. So we slept thinking they were drunk. We let them sleep it off, go to work. And when we came back, they were gone. Yeah, dumbass. They're not waking up, but they were alive when they left. I swear to you. Right. So investigative journalist Debbie Marshall has done a great deal of work and has spent many years putting together all of the pieces of this crazy-ass family case. She's written a book called Banquet, The Untold Story of Adelaide's Family Murders. She also has done a TV series called Frozen Lies, and there is a podcast called the same thing as well. So if you are interested, I highly suggest you check out that podcast. She does an extensive job detailing what she found. So listener discretion is advised. So in regard to the disappearance of the Beaumont children, von Einem's MO doesn't really seem to fit. The Beaumont children were very young, much younger than most of his victims, and 2 of them were girls. It seemed like he was more interested in boys or young men. In September of 1989, an accomplice of von Einem's, simply known as Mr. B, revealed to law enforcement that Bevan Spencer von Einem had confessed to murdering at least 10 people, including Jane, Arna, and Grant Beaumont, as well as Joanne Ratcliffe and Kirsty Gordon, the 2 little girls that were snatched from Adelaide Oval. According to the book, The Missing Beaumont Children, written by Mike Madigan, quote, even though Mr. B helped police with their investigation, he was certainly no angel. He and von Einem had regularly picked up young male hitchhikers before drugging and sexually assaulting them. Often the victims were then delivered to a Henley Beach Road home of 3 drag queens where they would be again sexually assaulted while comatose on drugs. Mr. B alleged that at one time he entered von Einem's bedroom and found him with a naked, semi-conscious youth. Mr. B noticed that a torch and a type of crochet hook were both inserted deep into said boy's anus. He said he had also seen items like stainless steel egg cups, caps in von Einam's room, which von Einam allegedly said he used for doing circumcisions. Mr. B said he wasn't happy with the practice of picking up youths and drugging them, but he had gone along with it because von Einam had supplied him with copious amounts of drugs and alcohol, end quote. The list of people that need to be just beaten senseless is growing exponentially. All right, so let's unpack this. Could Mr. B be Louis Turter? Because they never gave his name, and he actually testified at the trial in secret where they were trying to get von Einam for 2 other murders, but that was eventually thrown out. Mr. B said that they would take the victims to a house in Henley Beach. Turter lived in Henley Beach with 2 other people, Prudence Furman, don't like that name, who was a well-known drag queen of that area and of that time, along with Noel Terrence Brooks, who was also in the community of drag queens at the time. Both men have also been implicated in being a part of the sexual assault of these drugged boys and men. So this actually gives more support to Turter's claim, as does Mr. B's assertions that he did it because of copious amounts of drugs that were provided to him from von Einam, which is also what Turter said in his interview. He said he was so messed up on drugs at the time he didn't even know which way was up, and he would have pretty much done anything. Well, obviously, according to Mr. B, von Einam had claimed that he had done some surgery on the Beaumont children, the children he'd snatched from Glenelg Beach and from the Adelaide Oval. Then he said he had dumped their bodies at either Moana or Maponga, which are both coastal towns in South Australia. Police would search those areas, including the Maponga Dam, which was searched twice, but nothing significant ever came from those searches. Von Einam was interviewed, and he said, quote, "Oh, that was a lie. That guy was a jailhouse snitch. Everything he said was a lie," end quote. I don't think everything he said was a lie. It's possible that von Einam did have something to do with the Beaumont children's disappearance, or he just wanted to think, or he wanted people to think he did. Either way, I don't think Mr. B was lying about any of what he said. So at the time of the Beaumont children's disappearance, Bevan Spencer von Einam would have been about 20 years old, and there is footage from a Channel 7 news story from 1966 of the search for the Beaumont children, and there's a man that's seen watching the search. People who have researched this case extensively say that this man looks very much like Bevan Spencer von Einam, meaning that this guy must have returned to the scene of the crime, as so many unhinged criminals do. Recently, authorities have taken that photograph and compared it to a photograph of von Einam, and the experts say even though it's very close, they don't believe it's the same person. They state that the ears are different, the nose is slightly different, both things that would not make it von Einam. Now, I will say this. Whether it's him or not, it's hard to change your ear shape. And that's one way, and I don't know if we've covered this or not, but if you ever get an ear print, that is more conclusive than fingerprints.
Really?
Yes. And I don't know why, but if that tickles you fancy, Google it.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Now, this doesn't mean that he's not responsible or connected to what happened to the Beaumont children or to Kirsty and Joanne, which has led many people to wonder if there's any truth to Bevan Spencer von Einam or even one of his associates being involved with the disappearance of Jane, Arna, and Grant, along with Joanne and Kirsty. It was true that von Einam and his family were known to target boys and men, but that was later in the 70s and 80s. So possibly in the 60s, von Einam was still figuring out his likes and dislikes. He could have just grabbed whatever children he could get his hands on. It also makes sense that he may have given the Beaumont children money for food and drinks so that maybe he could possibly drug their drinks, as he had done with his other victims, who were all found with some sort of sedative in their system. It would also explain why there had been no struggle at Glenelg Beach, why nobody had seen anybody grabbing the kids and throwing them into the car or cars, even though we know that Jane probably would not have gone willingly with a stranger. The problem is that he wouldn't match with what we know about the Adelaide Oval abductions, where there was apparently a large fight put up by Joanne Radcliffe. I don't think there's a huge potential that Bevan Spencer Von Einem is connected to the Beaumont children or even to the Adelaide Oval abductions. I don't think he is, but it is plausible. Someone like Von Einem, who is clearly a very disturbed and sick individual, is clearly capable of anything. We do know that Von Einem was working with a lot of people at the time, so many people that most of them have never been identified. It is not only not out of the question to wonder that maybe even if he didn't take the children for himself, he could have procured them for someone else. Now, back to Jim and Nancy. They actually divorced in the early 1980s. They sold their house and stopped talking to the media. I'm not sure if Jim or Nancy ever dated or remarried, but I did read that neither one of them ever had children again. Jane, Honor, and Grant never came back, never were returned to their parents. Jim and Nancy never felt complete again. They always had a hole where their heart used to be. Crime writer Michael Madigan, who wrote that book, who spoke to the Beaumonts during his research for said book, had a great deal of respect for Nancy. He said, quote, "No one can ever imagine the torment that wonderful woman went through. She had to endure a heartache that can't be imagined, to lose all 3 children at once in those circumstances, and then to spend a life hoping that one day they will return. It's just mind-blowing." People would come up to her and accuse her of having something to do with the disappearance, and that would have been so very traumatic for her. She lived a very tough life after that. She was a strong woman, but after all of that, she did her best to avoid the public eye. End quote.
It's just awful. I mean, it's one thing to have suspicions. Oh, I think she might have been involved. Okay, you can suspect that all you want, but man, to go up and literally flat out accuse a mother to her face without any real proof is wild to me.
In the words of Mike Tyson, some of you have forgotten what it feels like to be punched in the mouth.
Yeah, definitely.
Nancy Beaumont would pass away at the age of 92, alone in a nursing home on September 16, 2019.
Dang.
I know, man. It just breaks my heart. And
That's a long time to live with that, man.
It is, and I try not to get emotional about it, but Jesus, man, I cannot imagine the pain and the torture she went through. And this is going to sound horrible, and I don't mean it this way, but from a grief point of view, I almost hope she had dementia and she forgot about it.
Yeah.
It's just awful, man. I hate these fucking cases.
Then why'd you choose it?
I didn't choose it. It was a suggestion. But anyway. So the problem with this case is we don't know shit about fuck my man, because even down to the description of the man seen with the Beaumont children on that day in 1966, we have this composite sketch of him, but it's like very nonchalant, no details. It was supported by 2 witnesses who said, yeah, this looks like the guy that we saw with the children. That looks like him. But the sketch doesn't match the physical description given by other witnesses, in my opinion. Now, people have stated he had a thin face and he was tall and deeply suntanned and has kind of this unruly blonde hair. The composite sketch looks like a guy that has dark, kind of slick back hair. In 2001, it was reported that Peter Zarnacki, the artist responsible for drawing said composite, was drunk at the time he drew it.
What?
Yeah. He said, quote, "Unfortunately, at the time, I had been drinking heavily in my tea break, and I didn't quite understand at the time until I'd sobered. And it made me sober very quickly, I can tell you. When I got down there to discover that the police were relying on that, plus the paper had opened the front page for the story. Nothing is more sobering than that," end quote. Basically, he said, I didn't think this sketch was going to be that important, and then when I found out that it was the linchpin of the case, I was like, oh, shit. Maybe I should not have had a little drinky drink when I drew it. Now, he would go on to say, quote, "We had 2 people come forward and try to describe, but unfortunately, the police never had any real equipment in terms of an identikit that they could use. So they were using artists. On one of the very few occasions they ever did this, they used artists, and it was very difficult for me because the woman really couldn't describe it. And as soon as you started using association, she started to lose it, end quote. He said the only real description he got was that the suspect had a thin face, so he basically just sketched a man with a thin face, thinking that eventually he would get more details from someone else, or they won't do anything with this sketch because it's not complete. But then they used the sketch and put it in the papers, and were like, this is the guy we're looking for. Then it comes out that the eyewitnesses were not even sure the hair color or the hairstyle, so the description of the surfy-looking man may not have even been accurate at all. The person who took the Beaumont children could have possibly had dark hair, a military-style haircut. He could have been bald for all we know, or had bright red hair. No one frickin' knows.
Golly.
Yeah. It's even possible that the 3 children seen playing with this man on the lawn were not even the Beaumont children, because anything is possible in this case. We don't even know if they made it to the beach that day. They could have easily been picked up before they even got there. We don't know if they were ever at the lawn at Coley Reserve. That could have been 3 separate children altogether. Remember, it was Australia Day, and there was a buku of people there. And Jim Beaumont went there after the sun went down, and remember, he said there were still thousands of people on the beach. He said when he first went there around 3 o'clock or 3:30 to look for the kids, the beach was so packed that he was like, quote, I couldn't even see them if they were on the beach, end quote. We don't know if they were gone by then. They could have been on the beach and he just didn't see them. Maybe they did miss the bus because it was so busy and they couldn't get back to Mosley Square in time. So they did end up walking home, and maybe something happened to them while they were walking home. We, again, don't know anything. There were so many kids there, and those eyewitnesses could have been seeing 3 different kids playing with some other man who was completely innocent, or was their father. He could have been these 3 total separate kids playing with an uncle or an older brother or their father, like I said. And that's why they were jumping on him and acting familiar with him, and that's why he was getting them dressed. What's pretty clear is the person or persons who did this did it for 100% evil reasons, and it's most likely they were not their first abductions or their last abductions. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will conclude part 2, and in part 3, we will get to the suspects.
Dang, we ain't got the suspects yet?
Mm-mm. And buckle up, Buttercup, there's 10 of them.
Oh my gosh. Lord have mercy.
I know it. Put on your big boy pants because we're going to have to buckle in. So, this is not a recommendation, but my lovely, lovely wife did find a press release for Sprouts, because they've been all over the social medias as selling lab-grown meat. And they have released a press release saying, no, that is not true. We did meet with the owners of that business and found out that they were using cellular meat and decided against carrying said cellular meat.
I have not heard any of this.
Now you will. I said it in front of your phone. That's all you'll see.
Yeah.
So
I thought Sprouts was like a vegetarian thing.
Well, it's like a Whole Foods on like.
But then, it's not right. Yeah, okay, I know exactly. I thought for some reason I thought it was a restaurant. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know what Sprouts is. I don't know anything about this lab-grown meat stuff.
But anyway, also this is also not a recommendation, but there's a lady on the YouTuber and the TikToker that got an apple, cut it open, and there were no seeds in it. There were the little holes where the seeds should be, but there were no seeds. So she cut it up, and she has this groundhog in her backyard that she feeds regularly with food scraps, and said groundhog would not eat it. The ants didn't even crawl on it.
Dang.
Yeah.
They're just determined. They think people think their profit shares are just going are the most important thing in the world. But, you kill us all off, there's nobody to buy your products. So, maybe you should start thinking about that in some ways before you're just like, hey, we'll just feed them lab-grown meat. We'll just put a million chemicals and everything. And it's ridiculous.
It is. I don't know. It's weird. Extremely weird. I saw somebody say that basically they're trying to get it to where we can't grow our own food anymore because they're going strictly seedless. But my question to that is, how the fuck do you grow it in the first place? It's got to come from a seed.
Right?
But anyway.
I don't know. I don't know enough to comment on that because I'm not very smart. And that's probably what they want.
I don't have any recommendations other than grow your own food because I have.
It.
Yeah.
I could chat GPT it, but that's what they want too.
Yeah. And did you see where that came out as 56% accurate?
That don't surprise me.
Yeah. I'm like, come on, guys. It doesn't replace the Google machine. I saw a thing the other day that, and I think Heater even said to me that his oldest one cannot fathom the fact that he didn't have Google or the internet to write a research paper. He goes, not only did I not have Google to write a research paper, I would write a research paper and never know what the fuck I was writing about.
No, dude. This is unscrupulous, but when I graduated from college, I knew people that were still in college, and they would be like, man, can I pay you to do this paper? And I'm like, I didn't really do well on papers in college. And they were like, man, but I can't get time. I don't care if I get a C, whatever, just do it. And I did not give two shits about the paper I was writing. Like, I just put words on paper, on computer, and I started getting A's on. I got a 100% on a friend's paper on the book Death of a Salesman, and I never read it, watched it, anything. I watched a 5-minute YouTube video. It was called Thug Notes, which was really entertaining. This black dude that's got a PhD in literature, he'd be like, all right, y'all, listen, this motherfucker right here, like... I watched that video and then just started typing, and so I would just put like my opinion on stuff and whatever, and I started making 100, like making A's on these papers.
Crazy, it's crazy, man. Hell, I gave in my EDS, I think it was a 3-minute or 5-minute presentation on a book that we should have read the month before, and they put us in groups, and I flat out told them, I said, I'll talk about it, but you've got 10 minutes to give me everything I need to know. Got 100 on it. But it goes back to, that's when BS degrees were actually BS degrees. You learned from a ripe young age how to bullshit your way through the hoops that they were asking you to jump through.
Right?
But anyway, potato. But yes, I do not have a recommendation because me started my new job and I've been riding around like my head's on fire and my ass is a catching. I will say this from one special ed teacher to another one. If you change states, it's like brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. I know how to do it. I know how to write an IEP. I know how to do an eligibility. I do not know how to do it on this new program that they have. However, I will say the great state of Alabama is comprised of a lot of great individuals because the assistant director of special ed came to my lowly classroom Friday and spent an hour and a half with me. And she just flat out told me, here, we're going to go through your entire caseload. I'm going to order these from most important to least important in terms of dates. And then the first IEP and the first eligibility, you are going to constantly send me, and I'm going to old school bleed all over it with a red pen until it is perfect. And then I want you to take that perfect one and model the rest of them after it. And I was like, I can do that. You are speaking my language.
Hell yeah.
And then, I know this is shocking as shit too, because you were in education. She gave me her personal cell phone number and said, look, at any time you can't get me on the office phone, call or text me and I will answer you within 5 minutes. Do you know how long it's been since I've had someone give a shit that much?
I assume it's been a minute.
Yeah. I've been doing this 27 years, and it's probably been 20 years since that happened. And that's the thing. And and a lot of people, I'd even come home and told my wife, I was like, here's what nobody understands. I want a boss like that. I want you to say, look, I know you're not going to get it right the first time, and we're going to work together to make sure that when it is right, it's perfect, and you're going to use that as an exemplar. And then she flat out told me, she's like, if you need anything, you need some more of these dividers, you need some more of this, you just call me, and I will, if they can't get it to you that day, I'll drive it over here. And I was like, have I died and gone to like teacher heaven?
Yeah. So
I know we used to make fun of Coach in Lower Alabama, but they so far seem to have their shit together. I do need your prayers and thoughts because the defensive coordinator of said football team is a hothead. And if he gets tossed, you're looking at the defensive coordinator.
Nice, buddy.
No.
Just blitz.
No, that's what I told him. I told I'm coaching DBs and the safeties, and I brought them in. I said, all right, upon said news that you just heard, please understand, you see me calling plays, we're sending the house.
Blitz 10, leave 1.
That's what I told them.
Leave 1.
But anyway, it has been, I mean, it's been a lot trying to get back into like the ins and outs of like in-person stuff, but it's like riding a bicycle, man. Kids are kids. And nobody seems to understand that. Doesn't matter where you go, kids are basically kids. They want you to bust that ass. Not physically, but they want you to get on them a little bit.
I know I sent you as that coach from Marion County, Tennessee that won like 15 state titles on that little podcast he was on. And he's like, that's the best. If I was still coaching, this would be the best thing I would say if I was a head coach. He said, anytime any parent, any kid want to argue and tell me how unhappy they are with the amount of time, how many carries he's getting or whatever, I'll say, we got 2 options on my team. He can play right guard or he can play left guard. He said that typically shuts them up.
We got into a discussion after practice one day about whether or not the defensive line will make tackles. And I was like, I'm not even, I'm too new to the staff to start a ruckus, but I don't know, man. We've got kids playing, I think I've said it on here. We've got 17 total kids on the varsity football team. We ain't got time to take you out to tell you how you messed up. We just need you to. We just need you to.
That's tough, dude. Like I told you, first middle school team I coached had 12 kids on it. I just look at the one kid that wasn't on the field and tell him what they were doing wrong.
And this is the first time I've ever had a young group. Like we've got JV and then we've got a little middle school team that comes out after varsity practice. This is the first time dealing with the younger ones like that they do not have a high gear. Like they do not go 100%. And like one time at practice this past week, I even looked at one of the seniors and I was like, am I speaking Spanish or some other foreign language that y'all don't comprehend? Because I think I just told you to run 100%. I even had to get my old decrepit ass out there and start playing DB.
Well, I bet he was throwing dimes, touchdown after touchdown when you trying to guard that receiver.
Well, you know what's funny is I never even put my hands up to try to get to the ball. I just run up and would just chop my feet next to them. They would shit the bed. And then as they would go pick the ball up after not catching it, I'd be like, yep, I'm in your head rent free now. Let's see what happens next time.
Dude, I could not be happier that I do not coach football anymore.
It
It was not for me.
I was that way, but I think I've gotten into a situation where it's kind of ideal to get back into it.
Right. Low pressure.
There's a whole,
you got 17 kids. You're not going to win the Alabama state title.
No, there's not a lot of pressure. Everything now is on that Huddle app. There's no need to meet on Sundays. You know, we meet after practice for about 20 or 30 minutes. That's about all you need now.
Yeah, for those that are not in the know, back in the day, a football coach's job was just too much for the money.
Yeah.
Like we would play, when we coached together, we'd play the dang game, get on the dang bus, come all the way home, and then watch the film of the game we just played, and then come in Saturday, watch the films of the team we're about to play, and then come in Sunday and show those tapes show the game tape and the game tape of the teams we're going to play to the kids on Sunday. And then, oh, man, it's just too much.
And back in the day, Saturday morning at the ass crack of dawn, the two coaches that were about to play had to meet in some random-ass parking lot to exchange film.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Make it make sense.
It don't. And that's what I was telling one of mine. They were like, well, what if he does this? I was like, we're not playing Tom Brady. He ain't going to have enough time to think. If he can do that down here in this classification, he's going somewhere.
And I never really understood the two coaches exchanging tapes. Like, that's helping you try to beat me, and you're helping me try to beat you. Like, man, it's got to be more covert than that. You got to like make a backdoor deal with the team they just played. You know, like, hey man, I need some tapes, buddy. He's like, well, And that shit happened because I think the rule was you only had to give them the previous game and two others. And it didn't matter. It didn't have to be in chronological order. Those two others didn't have to be in chronological order. So I know for the first 2 years that we were still exchanging before Huddle came out, they would get the previous week's game, and then they would get our scrimmage. And you know scrimmages, hell, that's straight vanilla. Yeah.
Here's another thing that blows my mind, but this happens I'm just how prevalent soccer has been. It's not reached everywhere because I'm like, we don't have a kid that plays soccer, has never played soccer, we can get to come out and kick. They were like, nope. I'm like, not even a girl? And they're like, nope. I'm like, can we find one to move in?
If you're a really good soccer player and you want to be treated like royalty, you become the kicker on the football team. Almost every team I've coached for had a soccer player kicker, and he would come to practice. He didn't go out at the same time as everybody else. He'd stay in the locker room doing whatever he was doing, come out 20 minutes late, kick the ball 2 or 3 times, and then the whole practice would stop to go practice the field goal team or the punt, whatever we were doing. We'd stop and go to him, practice it for like 10 minutes, and then he'd go home.
Yeah.
That's as close you can get to high school royalties, being a soccer player that did a favor and became the kicker.
Yep. And I can't find Kathy Ireland to play kicker for us like Unnecessary Roughness.
Oh, I love that movie.
I do too.
That's old school. Andre does not eat raw meat because Andre is a vegetarian. He said, eat whatever the hell you want, Andre.
Oh. But anyway, all right, Coach, you got anything else? You got any recommendations?
Well, I do have a recommendation, actually. I didn't have one last week. He's about to skip it. There's a thing on the Hulu, Disney Plus Hulu. It's on Hulu, so if you just have Disney Plus, you can't watch it. But if you have Disney Plus Hulu or Hulu itself, you can watch it. And it is called son of a bitch. Hey, babe. What's it called? Sophia Speaks.
Oh God, I've heard about that. I don't know if I can watch it, man.
It's 16 freaking hour-long episodes. We've watched it in like 3 days. It is insane. If you don't know who Sophia Grace is, Natalia. Why do I keep saying Sophia? Natalia Grace she was a dwarf. She is a dwarf, and she got adopted by this family, and this family up and decided that she was an adult.
That's not the one I was thinking about then, but this does tickle my fancy, so I'm all in.
They thought it was like the movie The Orphan, which is a creepy ass movie, by the way. And so they put her in an apartment, and then they moved to Canada, and it's all, I mean, it gets wilder from there. But they had a judge tell that she would change her age to 22. So they were legally able to put her in an apartment by herself in Podunk, Indiana, and move to Canada. And it's 16 episodes. And when I say it gets wilder by the second, trust me, that what I just told you is kind of a spoiler, but it ain't, because it just gets wilder and wilder, dude. I'll tell you what, a dentist takes x-rays and determines that this girl still has baby teeth.
What? So
it turns out they put her in an apartment by herself in Indiana, and went to Canada when she was like 10 years old, legitimately. But they had a court order stating she was 22.
Dang.
Well, it's going to take a little time, but it's worth the watch.
Well, there you have it. What's it called again?
Natalia Speaks. Natalia Grace, The Strange Case of Natalia Grace, and I don't know. Just look up Natalia Speaks. You'll find it.
Okay. Got anything else?
Three seasons, 18 episodes. It's on Hulu or Disney Plus and Hulu. You can't just got the Disney Plus. You just get like Little Mermaid and shit. You got to fork over the extra money for the Hulu. Funny story though, because we didn't have Disney Plus and Hulu for a little bit because we canceled it and we got locked out. We got locked out and canceled. It doesn't matter. So we started using her sister's Hulu and Disney Plus, and we kept looking for certain documentaries and we couldn't find them.
She had the kids thing turned on.
I look it up on Google and I'm like, it's right here. It's right here. It says it's on Hulu. And we kept looking it up, couldn't find it. Turns out her sister, who was 10 years younger than her, put parental controls on my wife's Disney Plus.
Oh, that's priceless.
We couldn't access anything above PG.
That is priceless.
And we tried to get her to change it, and she wouldn't. I was like,
well, shit.
So we just started watching everything on her profile, so it didn't matter. But
that's pretty good, though.
It was very funny.
All right. Anything else?
You know I don't.
Deuces.